3, 4 mile an hour over to generate revenue. That's to me not what law enforcement's about. We have to look on the other hand, for example, when we did have the grant money, we actually would have to take payroll for our employees, who most of them was on overtime because of the hours that the state set according to the grant. Was a lot of it was middle of the night hours, and so we'd bring people in, they would volunteer to work overtime. When we get reimbursed, that money goes back to the general fund, Jim. It doesn't come back to the sheriff's department directly. So they say, well, look, you're over this amount of dollars on employees' wages on overtime. Well, that's true, but you're getting reimbursed. The same thing with marshals and federal inmates and transports. We pay that out, so it comes out of our budget, but yet we actually get reimbursed that money back from the United States government. So we have to show that on our bookkeeping. We have to show intake and outflow both.
Okay, and I don't mean to interrupt here, but this is a very important point. So when you get these grants and the process goes the way you described it, is it that the board doesn't understand what the process is when this grant comes in, or are they being obtuse intentionally about this? So what's going on with that?
From my discussions with them, Jim, is they believe that they've described it to me as like a barrel. Money's coming into the barrel all the time, money is going out of the barrel as cash flow comes in, cash flow goes out, and that's understandable, I get that. But the other thing is you need to earmark that and you need to show where it's at. And their theory has been, well, we're giving that to you next year in your budget, that shows that. But to me, it's somewhat at times political reasons. They're saying, look, the sheriff can't run his department because he's over on this line item, he's over on that line item. True, on paper they are in that, but you have to look that we're getting that reimbursed back. So are we really over? In my opinion, no.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Right. So like I said, I've had some budget experience. As the candidates on our side, Jim, I'd like to say that I've actually been the one candidate that sat in with the sheriff and his administrative assistant, went over with that, with budget stuff with him, and helped prepare the budget. I don't know how you can't force them to do that, but I'm going to strongly urge, they want to talk about transparency and clarity. I just don't think it's a great system that they have department heads turn in a budget. Then after you turn in the budget, then you meet with a group of, on this year's, there was the county board chair and 2 county board members was their budget committee. You sit down one time with them and they had a meeting with us. Well, I attended the second meeting. The county board chair was the only person was there and another member was late. We talked about some things and we went back, made some revisions, everything was agreed upon, we sent it off. We never hear a word again from them after that. Then when the budget gets posted, as it's required for 30 days, our administrative assistant goes up and looks at it and has to write down page by page, take notes of what's on there. And we noticed numerous changes that they changed without that. And I think we need to have the department heads down with the county board and try and get them to understand. They need to tell us what dollars they need to work with. And the citizens trust us. This is our field of expertise, each office. We need to be able to sit down and clarify to them, this is where we need this money, this is how we need to make the operation work. Last year, for example, they changed the revenue base. We told them a realistic number, what we would generate in revenue, and they don't want to talk about 1.4 million. We want to talk about, okay, but that was money generated last year. Well, you have to show it as revenue coming in at some point. It was money earned last year. So in my opinion, Jim, I'm just a simple guy, but if I'm going to earn the revenue in 2012, for example, but the revenue cash doesn't come in 2013, you can't have it both ways. You can't say I'm short on raising the revenue in 2012, but yet when I get in 2013 say, well, that was 2012 money, that doesn't count. You can't have both sides of the argument. And I think we need to work together. There's just been some adversarial stuff there, and I think we can take care of that by just sitting down across the table in constant communication. And when they don't want to communicate anymore, that's when we really have to sit down and enforce the issue and say, no, we need to communicate and talk this over so we're on the same page, because we have to make this work. Jim, we have a jail. It's there. We can't take it back. It's built. So now we have to make it run and we have to make it function. And we can't do that by threatening people and doing things like that. And I understand that. We're not, we need to understand we're not John Deere, we're not Farmall, we're not Caterpillar, any of those types of businesses where we have to have certain people that's certified working. The citizens of Mercer County deserve that. And we just can't say, okay, we're going to be slow for 3 days, so you go home for 3 days, we'll call you back to work when business picks up. Unfortunately, we can't do that. Life would be so simple for me as an administrator if I could do that, but that's not the way the system works up, and we need to remember we're a service. We provide service to you, the citizens, everybody in Mercer County. We're here to protect your safety, to make sure your rules are being followed, to make sure, unfortunately, we've turned it into a revenue horse, and we've got to ride that horse and keep making revenue, keep relationships going, things like that. So